So I said, anyway, welcome to Board Game Smorgasbord, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Z Garcia.
Hey, it's a new day.
It's a new day. It's a new...
What now?
I think he was saying it's a new day, it's a new dawn, and I feel fine. The Michael Bublé song.
That's what it is. I wasn't sure what I was singing, but I knew it fired a neuron.
We still don't have AC here.
Get out of here,
but we have
neuron.
AC here. In this room.
We
so
do.
We're never leaving.
This is where we are.
This Board Game Smorgasbord is going to be 8 hours long.
I'll tell you,
okay
from
with that.
here until the top 10, I'm going to be here. Here.
Okay, thank you.
This
I
chair.
want you to be here for the show.
That's true.
Folks, we're going to start off with a contest. We have a contest for a game from Bezier. Bezier Games, the makers of Sink or Swim behind us, the cooperative game where you want to race against the clock to sink up as fast as possible. Cooperative card game. Throwing your legs up in the air or your cards, one of the two.
Like you just don't care.
But the contest is for a game called Silver, a 67-round game. It's not that many rounds.
6 to 7.
I don't know.
Not 67.
I thought you said 67 round
I
game.
did say 67.
Valium?
Okay.
If you want to win a copy of Silver from Bezier Games, all you need to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. In the subject line, put the word rascal, and then you need to answer this question. How many rounds are there in a game of Silver?
You're kidding me, right?
I'm not, but I was kidding about the 67.
Okay,
There's
okay.
not. What game has 67 rounds? Come on.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Feld. You know?
True. I could see him doing
He
that.
would do something like
You
that.
get 2 points every round.
Also, Tom, Nina Simone, not Bublé. Nina Simone was the OG.
Okay, yeah, Bublé
I'm
probably
feeling
redid
good.
No.
He's covered it, yeah.
Bublé's version has so surpassed hers.
I love Nina Simone. I do.
Yeah.
I think her voice, her life is like incredibly
She has
interesting.
a really interesting life.
Yeah, but like her voice.
Wait, she the one I did that little mini-series on, right?
Possibly they did
think
like
they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's was really interesting.
Yeah.
She's also in Silver. No, but that's what we're talking about. You win a copy of Silver. Answer that question. Also put your address in the email so we know to get it to you.
You got to do it.
Yes.
All right. While we're getting ready for Dice Tower West, guess what? It's too late to sign up.
What? So they can't go to Dice Tower West anymore?
No, they can show up at the door, Mike.
There you go.
But you can sign up online for Dice Tower East. We're prepping for that now, obviously, working on our games in the library. You should see the upgrades we got today. Beautiful upgrades. Beautiful upgrades.
There's some upgrades.
I'm not lying.
No, you're not. There's some cool upgrades.
Good stuff. Anyway, if you want to come to Dice Tower East, check out dicetowereast.com. Our sponsors for Dice Tower East are All Play and House Family Homestead, and we also put up a whole list of sponsors / publishers coming. So that's another reason to come.
Yep.
So get it while it's hot.
That's where you want to be.
It's the place to be.
All right. Well, that is what I have here to start out by talking. Start out by talking. You know what? Let's just go to the news.
Okay.
I still notice my newscast. What am I the weather guy? Am I the one? Yeah, am I the traffic guy? Was I? I thought it was just you and Tom.
You're
Doesn't matter.
I'm implied.
All right. Well, I hate doing this, folks. But once again, we're starting off with bad news.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And this is another board game company closing down, Holy Grail Games. Holy Grail Games, we actually just reviewed their game encyclopedia, but they're probably best known for Museum and or Dominations, or they made a lot of different games.
Sure.
So it's a long story. You can go to their website and read it, or you can zoom into this letter and try to read that. But basically, they blamed their distributor, COVID, and just some bad business decisions. Where the real story is, that's neither here nor there. I don't know. It's unfortunate, not great news, but it's going to keep happening, folks.
It is, and it's been interesting seeing some other publishers come in and kind of speak to this and say that, this is not something that is unique to what they're, that these are issues that are there, that depending on the size of the company, depending upon any number of issues, they've had to deal with some of these problems to a greater or lesser degree, and it just, are you able to sustain it? You know what I mean? Apparently 2021 especially was particularly difficult for, for everybody.
Dealt with a lot of the shipping stuff and all.
Right.
Here's the thing. This has been happening for the past 20 years. You just haven't seen it as publicly because you usually weren't waiting for the games.
Right.
Yeah,
Kickstarter has changed it, so now the games are coming to you. companies have been shutting down all the time. And you can always blame, there's lots of blame game going around, finger pointing. But yeah, mistakes are made, but that's part of the way the system works. So unfortunate, but we'll see if anyone picks up their games. I don't know.
And again, I mean, this is not something that anyone wants to particularly dwell on, but these are not, Kickstarter is not a guarantee of, you know what I mean? You are taking a bit of a risk. None of us necessarily like to focus on that, but, you know, you may not always get what you pledge for.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's not great news. And like you said, Tom, I think it is going to keep happening.
All right, other slightly bad news, I guess. Unmatched. So Unmatched, to tie in with the news that Unmatched stuff is slowly this year being released on the app.
Yes.
They're now putting stuff in the vault because apparently they're owned by Disney now. They're not owned by Disney, but that sounds funny.
Right.
So they don't want to have too many SKUs out at the same time, different products available to get. And so Cobble and Fog, which I thought was outside the Marvel stuff, their most popular set. You gave it a 10.
I love it. I personally love it. It's my favorite set. I don't know if it actually is their best selling. I have no idea.
And Robin Hood and Bigfoot, which was their first expansion. So these are going to what's called the Vault. And then, so I don't know if, see, with Disney,
they're basically, well, what they said was, we're going to let these go out of print.
Right.
That's basically what they said.
Right.
We're not recalling them. They're not on the shelf for a week, and then we're going to take them back. So, pick them up now. They're just saying, once they do dry up, we're not reprinting these for a while.
well, there's definitely a little bit of the, buy them now.
Sure, and that's implied just because, well, yeah, they're going to go out of print. To be fair, just about every game is going to go out of print.
This is true.
That's true.
Okay,
This
there's
is
very
true.
few games that have the constant reprint button being hit. So I think it's fine, and I understand that they do have a lot of Unmatched things coming up in the next year.
Five new sets in
That's
2023 and
crazy.
2024, including an unannounced licensed property. Now, I don't believe I know this licensed property.
I believe I might.
You do know it.
I know, but I have a strong suspicion.
Well, then you can share that. If
No,
it's
I
just a
cannot.
suspicion.
I
Well, then,
cannot.
We should speculate wildly, Tom.
well, I can speculate.
The
Here's my one.
Muppets!
G.I. Joe.
Oh.
Mine's cooler than yours. Mine's way cooler than yours.
G.I. Joe's cooler than the Muppets?
In a combat game, yes.
That's crazy. Okay, I'm going to slap you with a cookie.
Although, that's true. Animal?
Yeah.
No, I would have the band. What's the band called?
The Fraggle Rock.
No, it's not called the Fraggle Rock Band.
Oh, the Professor Teeth's Good Time Party Band.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right? The one that Animal's in, the guy that plays
yeah,
in
but
Oregon?
it's called
I can't remember.
something in the something band.
Yeah, something in the something Good Time
Someone will
Band.
tell us in the chat. And then I want the two old guys.
Yeah, well,
jeez.
the two.
They don't actually play the game.
Right.
You just move them off
They
the board
watch
and
you.
they comment
They judge
on
you
everyone
play.
else's
Love it.
style.
So this whole vault thing, I was saying yesterday, it'd be cool if they kind of do the McDonald's McRib model, right? Where they'll tease it, you know, and they'll Cobble and Fog available for 2 months only, and then people run out.
I do think that that's what this means.
Yeah.
This means by going in a vault, it can come out Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem.
Yeah,
that's
what
right.
it is. All right.
Jeez, that's the name of something in. Okay, I take it back. That's not my choice anymore.
No?
I'm going with Taco Bell is the theme. That's what it's going to be.
Speaking of things being teased and taken away, Mexican pizza.
It's still around, though.
I know.
It came back, right?
It came back, yeah.
It came back until they decided to put it in the vault.
I haven't had one for a while.
I'm not a big
I
fan.
haven't been to Taco Bell in a long time. All right. In boring news, there's a new game coming out called Cat and Company. And I was talking to Mike, and here's the thing. I have this whole, like, I hate cats. I don't really hate cats much. Cat themes are fine. There's too many cat
I'm
theme
over it.
games
Look,
at this
I'm
point.
supposedly the
You can't
cat
just
guy.
slap cats in a game and make me want to play it.
But I'm over it at this point, yeah, because a lot of it seems cynical. I'm not saying this one specifically. This is a kid's memory game, so fine, cats. But I'm over it. You know, it's like, do something else. Find a new thing.
Goats.
This
Look,
is
there's so
a
many animals,
dice-rolling
ferrets,
memory game from Carlo
marmosets.
Rossi. Why do I know that Carlo
Where's the-
Rossi's name?
Carlo Rossi is, he's a, what are we doing here?
Apparently I'm watching Grease.
Okay,
Give me a
but-
second.
Carlo Rossi's designed a number of games, right?
He does a bunch of kids games, I
Yeah.
want to say. Oh, he did the dropping at a making noise game. That's his.
Oh, we did that terrible
Isn't
Arkham
it?
Horror Final Hour.
Oh.
Oh, no.
let's not
He's the
focus on
guy
that.
who did Divinity Derby and the, what's the one, the funny name one in German?
Man, there's not a
Todd,
lot.
you and Chris. This way and that way.
Interesting enough, he's doing that new dogfight game. The third in that
that's right. The
Blitzkrieg
third
series.
in the Blitzkrieg. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, his games don't. His highest rate game is The Rich and the Good.
Oh, that one.
I don't think I've ever
What's
played
the
this
original
game.
title? I taught you, Mike, this.
Did you? Oh, is this Hobbin Good?
Hobbin Good.
Oh,
that's it.
Hobbin Good.
Why couldn't I think of Hobbin
That's a good. That's a
Why
good
doesn't
game.
it say
It's
this
good.
re-implements Hobbin Goot?
Because that's what
Because it does.
It should say
Oh,
that.
no,
here
it's
on it.
literally the same game with an English title now.
Ah, you're right. Hobbin Goot, German version. Oh, there's a review from Z Garcia 5 years ago.
You should watch that, Thomas. Hot fire.
You know what? The day I watch that is the day I have free time.
It uses the vault system, that review.
All right, anyway, Cat Code Dice Rolling Game. Let's move on to another thing no one asked for. Gears of War, the card game.
Yeah.
When I think Gears of War, I think I want to play a card game.
I want to play a
version of
card
this.
game
This is
version
hot
of Gears
fire
of
right
War
here.
from Steamforge.
It's hot something. Steamforged, who, to be fair, I'm publicly biased against Steamforged games because I've had such bad experiences. I know that all the other content creators who were flown to England to play the game said that the new one, what's it called?
They have the latest. This is not the latest.
What's that game? No, there's a game that they're coming out with that was on,
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring, right?
Oh,
the Elden Ring
right,
game
right.
is great and blah,
Elden
blah,
Ring
blah.
is really good. So was England. England was nice. You didn't go? I loved it there. I went. They took
I
me
don't
to
know what's
England.
happening right now.
Okay, they bought me fish and chips.
Okay.
And I played Elden Ring.
I'm confused.
Oh, he went. He didn't tell us.
I went.
Oh, was it fun?
I had a great time in England.
Anyhow,
No.
I don't know. They've told me it's good. They're like, I cornered a couple of them specifically.
Cornered them.
No, I did.
Tell me the game.
No,
Stop lying to me.
That's not too far off.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to know. And they said it's good.
All right.
And yet I still doubt. But
Okay.
it may be wrong. Anyway,
You need
Gears
to trust
of War.
people more.
It's a story-driven campaign game with decisions made in one scenario affecting future plays. The designer
like
is
the video games.
Tyler Bielman. Yeah, but did you like the Gears of War board game way back? Fantasy Flight
never
made that
played
one.
it.
I did not like it, but a lot of people did. I was in the minority on that one.
Gotcha.
Anyway, okay.
It's weird to me because they normally do miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
So what's a card game, really?
Because
Yeah, they have the license.
It's also not a great cover.
It's
but
not.
this is a good cover.
All right, here we
This
go.
is the 40th anniversary edition
Oof.
of Scotland Yard.
Terrible.
With new retro art and an adventure book narrating the story.
I like
Wait,
new
this is
retro.
the new retro art? This
New
is the
retro.
same as the old art.
I know. Except it has that little 40th logo slapped on the bottom left there.
They cleaned it up, and I hate this cover so much. This cover is terrible.
It's really
This is
bad.
new? It looks like the old
Well,
one.
most of the Scotland Yards just have the map
Just
on
the
it.
map, yeah.
Okay.
Not that.
That's a
Detective-
That's a shady character.
That's a hipster doofus.
That's almost like what Dick Tracy's like alter ego twin who went bad.
Yeah.
I hate this cover a lot.
I don't like it.
It's a classic. I guess they want to go with that classic look.
Yeah, but that looks like classic, but also new at the same time. This looks like 50-cent bin
It does.
in a discount store.
I'm not getting any
You
classic.
can buy this at
but
Party
new.
City.
This looks like
where?
you're gonna
Party
find
City.
it
They
at
sell board games, actually.
Kohl's or
do?
They do.
Yeah.
Party games. But
Yeah, okay. It's a classic.
it's coming out March 2023. I love Scotland Yard. I think it's a great game, but I don't think there's anything new other than there's an adventure book narrating the story. Who cares?
If there's anything I play Scotland Yard for, it's the
I want to know
narrative.
Mr. X's
Right,
deep
the
backstory. Why X? Why
Mr.
not
X is
Z?
so misunderstood.
All right. So where are we at? That was we are at the next thing here, which is a couple games coming from a new publisher, I think, Kyf Edition.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this publisher.
Well, let me pull
If
them
I'm not
up,
mistaken,
too.
KYF here is a publisher that Piero is involved with.
Oh, interesting.
He
Okay.
is one of the people who I might be.
Nope, you're right. It is. KYF stands for Know Your Friends.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got a few games coming out. I'm excited for these.
Yeah.
Piero is an illustrator.
Right.
That's his
Works-
main.
You're probably best known for Mr. Jack.
Yeah, Mr.
Or Ghost
Jack
Stories.
or Ghost
He-
Stories or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, he's an excellent illustrator in my opinion. One of
I
my
agree.
favorites. He's also a really cool guy, and so this company, he and then a couple of other French folks are starting this company. They've been at it for a while. This is not necessarily their first publications, they've put out a few things, but mostly party games is what they've done.
Yeah, I love that roof. I think it's like the rooftops of Paris or something like the roofs of Paris. I love that cover.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. Yeah.
Now that one is from Ludovic Montblanc. So that could be a good game, right? The other Differencio is from two new designers.
Okay.
So that one looks like a party game.
That one looks more like a party game, yeah.
We'll see.
I love French publications and designers, and it's my jam. It tends to line up with my sensibilities in gaming.
We line up with that because I really tend to like those designs.
I hate the French.
You do.
Wow. Anybody want to take him out of context real quick?
He's going to corner you soon.
French design. I think
he's going to corner the entire country.
I think countries often tend to have like a motif on how the designs feel.
Yes.
It's not 100% sure.
No, but yeah.
But yes, I agree. If I hear companies from French and I know nothing else, I'm definitely interested.
I agree.
All right. If you make a popular roll and write game, you make 100 sequels. So here's the first of more than one, I'm sure. This is Next Station Tokyo. We already had Next Station London, which we all played. Not all of us, but several of us played here. Chris loves it. I really like it also. This is one where you each have your own colored pencil and you pass them. No, I'm sorry. You pass the pencils around.
Okay.
You're drawing different subway lines.
Okay.
So I might have a pink. So this turn I draw the pink subway line, then I pass it on, and then it's a flip and right, and then you draw these subway lines. And you get points for connecting stations, seeing how far you can make a line go, different things like that.
Okay.
It's really fun. This is just alternate maps, but it looks like it's a standalone too.
Is it similar to Metro X at all? It looks similar.
No, Metro X, they have the same theme.
Yeah.
Metro X is a funky one.
Yeah.
Metro X is a hard game to explain.
It is.
I think.
This
one is a lot
lighter.
easier to explain.
Okay. Blue
I haven't
Orange, right?
played.
I haven't either. Blue Orange, I think, are doing these. Okay.
I haven't played either one of those, actually. I haven't played Metro X either.
I think you might dig Metro X.
Metro X is actually a pretty good solo game.
It's a good solo game, yeah.
But this one I think is better of the two.
Okay.
But if only I think I can teach this one more easily.
Sure.
This is from Matthew Dunstan, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Very good designer.
All right, we got a new game from Matago, and keep Matago in your head because I'm going to mention them later on. This is called Grail Cup. Now this artwork here, this is from Bruno Feduti, so I'm kind of interested in that part of it.
Well, the artwork is not Bruno Feduti.
No.
The artwork is John Kovalik, who is best known for Dork Tower. He draws those people with the big noses
Munchkin.
and stuff. Here it looks like he's trying to draw some more realistic people, and I hate everything about it.
Wait, what?
I wonder if he's
you think
involved
this looks different from his usual artwork?
Don't you think it looks different?
It's slightly different, but I think it's only because of the...
Maybe it's because there's other stuff in the background.
I think so, but I wonder, is this just a Feduti design, or did he actually design it with John Kovalik and he also did the art?
That cover makes me think that
you're right.
they are working on the game
That's what it
together,
makes me
and John
think,
Kovalik,
right?
of course, did the artwork because Feduti can't draw. I've seen it. It's awful. I'm kidding. What are you looking at me for?
Well, I don't know if maybe you have.
But yeah, it makes it sound that tacking at the top makes it seem like they worked on it together.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, it's a 3 to 8.
He was involved with Apples to Apples, actually.
Oh, was he?
Kovalik?
Yeah.
Yeah, the artwork was his. And
Well, the apples were his, but he was also involved with the game
Oh,
itself.
he was?
interesting.
Oh.
He may have just picked the words for the cards. I don't know, but he was
That
definitely
makes him a
involved.
designer,
It
okay?
does. Yeah, but that player count sounds like a Feduti game, right? 3 to 8.
Yes.
You know, it's going
There's
to
gotta
be
be
a
some
chaotic
bluffing,
party game
probably.
type of thing. Yeah.
That cover makes it look like a kid's game, straight up.
That's what
It looks
Kovalik's artwork
but
always
it looks like
like.
Munchkin. It looks like everything he does. You know?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling this cover. All right. I'm not a big fan of this next cover either, but I'm excited. A new Smash Up expansion. So this is Smash Up. If you've not played Smash Up, you take two different decks, put them together, and you play against other people. Me and Z, we just played the Disney version of this.
Disney and Marvel.
Oh, and Marvel, right. We mixed them together.
Mixed them, yeah.
And that's the thing. But the base Smash Up set that started off pretty generically where they did...
Like ninjas and pirates. And
Right, they did just use different tropes. So they started running out of tropes, so then they were like, we're just going to straight up copy movies
Yes.
and change things enough so we don't get sued.
Correct.
And they were actually... I think one of their expansions was like called Please Don't Sue Us or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't mind. It's silly fun. This one is like really going down that line.
So what do we got here? Ghostbusters, obviously.
Yep.
RoboCop?
Yep.
And then in the back, what's that? Back to the Future? I don't know what that
Yep,
is.
it is.
Back to the Future. That's Marty,
These are all
that's
80s
Marty
movies,
McFlo.
basically.
and the alien I don't get.
Sure you do. You already said it.
Alien.
It's aliens.
That
looks closer to a Men in Black alien to me, but
yeah, like that one. All the other three I can pick up from just looking at it.
Yeah.
Like the Ghostbusters one's really on the nose.
It's way on the nose, yeah.
But the alien just looks like generic alien, and they've already got aliens.
They do. Yeah, and like I think in the base set had aliens.
Right. So
maybe this will be called evil aliens.
they'll call it a xenomorph or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, they also already have time travelers.
Okay. Well,
So, all I'm saying is, since the tagline is "excellent movie, dudes," and there is a Back to the Future thing, they better have Bill and Ted card in this game.
you think so?
They also apparently mistook who played RoboCop. Apparently, they thought that Tom Selleck was the lead actor in RoboCop.
That's right,
but
the
he was
mustache,
not.
baby.
Yeah.
I would
It
watch
could have been. It could have
I'd
been
watch
Tom
a
Selleck.
RoboCop movie with
RoboCop with Tom Selleck. RoboCop takes off of his metal thing. He's got a Hawaiian shirt underneath.
Yeah.
All right. The Last Kingdom board game. So this is coming from a company you would not expect, actually.
Yeah.
Gameland Games. They do Tiny Epic and the series, and then they did Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, and
A few
maybe
other
some minor
things.
But they've not done anything that's based on an IP, as far as I know.
Not that I'm aware of. And also,
this-
the designer is odd for this publisher, too, because
John DeClaire.
he's worked with He's worked with Brotherwise, but it's almost always with AEG.
Well, I think he's starting to branch out,
Yeah,
actually.
It
So,
screams Gale Force 9 to me as a publisher. You
it
know what I mean?
absolutely does.
it does. Have any of you watched this show?
I knew nothing about I'd never heard of this show, and we watch Netflix a lot.
I've seen its branding. I've never seen the show.
I have not.
Wow, that really looks like Vikings in many ways, just the
is.
way they're all glowering at the camera. But I did ask Mike to put in a slide here of the game itself.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the next slide so we can see what the game itself looks, because that cover isn't doing it.
Yeah.
But the game, I was like, oh, that looks a little interesting. It actually looks like a Tiny Epic game in some ways.
Yeah.
Kinda,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's clearly a fair bit going on there, right? So it does not look like a entry-level game.
Right.
Yeah, so you're
No,
going
that's
to
an
be
interesting
drafting
shot.
cards from a deck, and each round has its own deck.
Okay.
So you'll draft cards a little bit like Blood Rage, I guess.
Right, that's kind of the
And then
vibe
you're going to
I
have
got.
wars in the regions. There's 10 different leaders to pick from. And the round ends after you decide who controls each region. And, oh no, there's 5 different regions. That's one round, and then you do all 5 regions again, and there's 2 rounds of play. So there's 10 turns, I
Crazy
suppose.
thing, though, is that you look at that cover, and even though I knew nothing about this show, I'm like, okay, this has to be an area control game, right? It's like houses,
really?
it's
Yeah.
like a Game of Thrones type of a feel.
It looks cool,
Yeah.
and John DeClaire.
Yeah.
So I'm in on the basis of those. And
Sure.
Gamewood does great production and all that stuff, too.
Yeah.
I think it's going to Kickstarter, so.
I believe it is, yeah.
Sorcerer's Arena, a game that you may have seen once or twice in the Dice Tower, has a new expansion. So, let's see, you haven't seen this yet.
I have not.
I'll give you 5 guesses as to a
I'd
Disney
say of
character
the
in
3
here.
characters, one is relatively high profile, the other 2 not so much.
Relatively high profile, and they're not in
Ish.
there yet.
I'd say, what would you say, Tom? You know what you
If
want to
you
talk
pick
about.
the movie, I'll give it to you.
I'd say it's like B tier.
Yeah, they have A tier, B tier,
I
and
get
C
a
tier.
clue
On
as
this
to
one?
how, when.
I think the
old,
highest
new.
is B tier.
I mean, like,
The most high profile one is the newest, I think.
One of them's a main character from a movie. The other
Right.
two are, no, the 2 of them are
Okay,
main
so I'm gonna
characters. One's a
say-
Yeah, that's
secondary.
true. Yeah.
is it Buzz Lightyear?
No,
Come on, that's
so
a terrible
nothing from
guess.
Toy Story.
Terrible
Okay.
guess.
It's a new high
Shocking.
profile
That's a good
one.
guess. Shut up. Don't listen
It's
to
an
that.
okay
Good
guess.
job,
Yeah.
good job, good job.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
but he said it's the
Jeez.
title character. Buzz
Lightyear
Lightyear.
had his own movie.
He
No one
just
watched that
did. He
trash.
had Buzz
No
or
one watched
Lightyear or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
No one did watch
No
it,
one watched that
really.
movie.
I
Go
watched
ahead.
like about 20 minutes. It sucked. The person in their own movie? Jeez, I don't know. Shrek. Is that Disney?
No,
No.
it's
Why don't you
definitely
move-
DreamWorks.
Okay, I'm just telling you the name.
What
We're
is
going to
it?
make a man out of you yet, Z. We're going to make a man out of you.
That means nothing to him. All right, Mulan.
Mulan.
Oh, yeah, no.
Dishonor! Dishonor on you! Dishonor on your cow!
I've never seen it.
Also,
Oh, you should watch Mulan.
Also,
It's
Robin
pretty good.
Hood, which is one of the best underrated Disney movies there is. Robin Hood, Little John running in the
Yeah,
forest.
actually, it's not bad.
With the animals?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. That I've seen.
And then Mrs. Potts. because if there's anybody I want on my team when I'm
That's right.
fighting the opponents, it's a breakable
Right.
ceramic pot.
That's correct.
Who sings.
Why haven't they made anything from the Aristocats? Oh, we're already sick of cats. Forget about that one.
I do like the Aristocats.
I like the
though.
Aristocats.
That's a great movie.
It is, right?
He's so cool.
He is.
The plot is so dumb of that movie.
What plot?
No, there's guys trying to
I
steal
know,
him or
but come
something.
on,
I don't know.
That's better plot than Cats.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. Anyway,
Okay, so Mrs. Pot. Okay,
Pots.
Pots.
she's the B. I'm saying Robin Hood's the C. Mulan's an A-list character.
think so?
She's not
Yeah.
the B. No,
I
she's the
consider-
worst character.
I
Who?
consider
Of
Mulan
those
to be
three,
a
it's wait. You said
No, look.
Mulan. Is it actually Mulan?
Yes, Mulan.
And Robin Hood.
Fa Mulan.
I'm telling you,
Robin Hood. Yeah.
Robin-
And then Mrs. Potts is like no.
Yes, but Beauty and the Beast is way more popular than Robin Hood. That movie did not get a lot of love.
No,
It did
no,
not.
no, no,
It did
no, no,
not.
no way, Tom. No way. Mrs. Potts. Tale as old as time.
Tell me more, Mama.
Go to sleep, Lo. Chip is the name, right? Chip. Yeah, I called it. Yes.
Although when he turns back into a boy, he's missing part of his head or something.
Is he?
No.
Well, he
little
messed up.
All right. Next in the news, because this game dropped off.
Oh, jeez. What is happening? Guys, what? No. What?
All right.
Read the headline I wrote.
Game dropping off of Z Garcia's top 100 list immediately gets reprint announced. So you just talked about it as call for top 100.
Yeah, they just talk about our Echo, or
Yeah,
Eco, or
and
whatever,
Master of Rules.
Oh, jeez.
So our Eco is coming back. Who's bringing us back?
It's Hobby Japan.
Japan brand.
Or Japan
No.
brand, sorry. Is it Hobby Japan or Japan brand?
Hobby Japan, and they
is
make
Hobby.
some good stuff,
They
actually.
do. Master respects in my top
That
100,
being
baby.
said, was anyone
Really?
asking for an Arico reprint?
Z was.
No.
He hated it. It dropped off his top 100.
Look, I'm glad this is coming back into print. This is a great little card game.
How can a game about recycling not continually be recycled? Right?
I think so.
You have to. It's
It's
thematic.
got to be your list next year.
But they've
We'll make it
announced
right now.
I know.
They've announced a third game. I would think maybe
The
you're
third
kinda
game is
interested in that,
called-
Oh,
right?
I am. I am.
Third game is called Builder's High.
Yeah, I've played Our Echo. It's a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. Master of Rules is okay. It's also been a solid decade since I played.
Right.
And the production I played from Z-Man, back when they were making those little games, they were rough-looking games.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But it was an interesting, a little more convoluted. So I'm very much looking forward to Builder's High.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious to see what else they've got. Susumu Kawasaki, who's the designer here, I think is a great designer.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Right.
All right, well, if you're tired of playing Great Western Trail and Great Western Trail Argentina, good news. Great Western Trail New Zealand is
Yes,
coming.
That's what I've been waiting on.
We needed another one.
That sheep knows something I
does.
don't know, and
It
it
does.
bothers me.
Yeah, that sheep is.
Well, you're owning a sheep station on the South Island of New Zealand at the end of the 19th century. Herding sheep is so much better than herding cows.
correct.
Blah, blah, blah. It's about sheep instead of cows. Here's the thing. I don't know how different these are. I haven't heard a lot of
Well, they're
feedback.
smaller, they're fluffier.
They are.
And they don't taste as good, though. I don't like mutton as good as beef.
They're gamier for sure.
They're gamier, yeah.
Yeah.
They're hevier game. They like to play Great Western Trail.
They do.
Anyhow, for people who love Great Western Trail, I'm curious if there's the diminishing return on sales on these.
I bet. How different are these? I have no idea.
I have not played we have it in the library, the Argentina one. I've not played it. Or do we have it in the library?
I don't know if we do. I thought we might.
We should.
Yeah,
No,
we
we do,
probably,
'cause I put
we
it next to
probably
Great Western
do,
Trail.
right? We probably
Yeah.
do.
All right. If we don't, we will by the time you come to one of our conventions. All right, finally, and very surprising news.
Yes.
So
Yes, baby!
Okay, so this is weird news because Cyclades is being reprinted, Legendary Edition, coming soon to Kickstarter. That's not surprising at all.
No.
Here's what's surprising. It's not Madigo.
Not Madigo.
Okay.
But there's there's
Okay,
a lot
so
of
the
info, but
company-
let's talk about the differences
Well,
too.
let's talk about the company first, because I'm kind of interested in that.
Okay.
This is...
It's time for me to throw my Cyclades out.
Well, this is going to be a pretty big difference here.
Okay.
Anyway, this company has done some role-playing games in the past, and they work with Madigo.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just confused why, like, this is a new box. It's not going to be in the same size as Kemet. It's a weird...
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a big change.
Wait till you hear the changes.
All right, so here's what's going to happen.
Okay, go.
They said they're changing the bidding system
Okay.
to make it more exciting. They said it's exponential bidding system. Now, I don't know what that means, unless it's like 1, 2, 4, 8, 16.
It might
guess so.
might be something like that, like closer to like the 5 tribes bidding or something.
The board, okay, so the board, that's just telling the rules. I already know all that. Miguel Coimbra is doing the art.
Miguel Coimbra.
Miguel,
Yep. Doing the art.
He is fantastic.
He's
art.
incredible.
He's really good.
Yes, very good.
And And
6 gods instead of 5. There's a 6th.
Yeah, but they already added a 6th god in
that in
the
the
expansion, so I don't know if that's
I don't know if
the
it's
thing.
the same one though.
It's probably the same one. It was
might
the
be.
angry guy.
That's
Who
the
was it?
problem. I can't figure
Ares?
out.
No, not
No,
Ares.
Ares was in it already.
The Giants guy.
Yeah. The Titans guy.
The Titans guy, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they talk about a team mode, which is I think they. It sounds to me like they took some of the stuff from Titans.
The problem is they don't mention that. They're not specific on if it comes from the different things. Oh, the new god is a new god as a Terra.
Oh.
And so there's a new unit called the Mercenary.
I love it. I love everything about it.
Okay. Oh, it was Kronos was the new one in the
guy,
expansion.
yeah.
That's who it was, yeah.
So there's a team mode. There's an enhanced 2-player mode.
Team mode was introduced in Titans.
Yep.
There's new creatures and new heroes, a shorter and more dynamic bidding phase. Okay, I don't know. And new artwork from Michael Coimbra. There's also an enhanced and refined 2-player mode.
Okay.
It's a modular game board, but it always was a bit of a modular game board. But then in Titans, they went away from the modular game board.
The original game wasn't modular, right? I mean, it was pre-printed. It was depending on player count.
Yeah, right. My biggest question here is, where it says Legendary Edition up there, how come they're using the Legendary font from Legendary, the board game?
Interesting.
It's incredibly close to that font.
It is, yeah.
I thought
I'm excited about
this was going to be a superhero.
Apparently they did Northgard. Is that true?
They did. They did. You're right. This is the company that did the original version of Northgard before Studio H did something with it.
This is very cool. I'm glad to see this back in print.
And that's a good production.
Yeah, the production.
Northgard's a good production. We'll be reviewing Northgard next week, actually.
All right.
Someone asking about gameplay. If you weren't familiar with Cyclades, it looks like a troops on a map game, and it kind of is, but it's almost more of a bidding game.
It's like an area control kind of game.
It's a true hybrid.
It really is. And before hybrids were a big thing,
Yeah, it's a big game, but it is...
Yeah, we all like it, right?
Yeah, you bid, and then you control places. You can move and attack, certainly, but that's sort of secondary.
Yeah, you can also win by getting like a set collection aspect. There's multiple ways you can win.
It's good stuff.
It is.
And that is the news.
Hey, what's up, Board Game Smorgasbord? It's me, Brian Drake. I am here from plate to table. Now, when I think of smorgasbord, I think of a buffet because I'm Southern, right? Or a buffet, as Mr. Carson would say. But ideally, there's options for everybody. There's all sorts of different topics. And mostly my mind goes to Vegas vacation. I'll have some of the blue. Or the fact that in Mobile, Alabama, and you can look this up right now, there was a wrestling match in the parking lot. And I don't mean an unsanctioned one. I mean there was a ring and ropes, and Alabama Doink took on Heidenreich. Yes, that's right. The red monster who was friendly with Michael Cole. It's all sorts of options. And sometimes we think, well, what are we talking about today? Brian, you're talking about 3D printing. People are talking about games. Well, my segment's all about 3D printing. I love 3D printing because it relates directly and indirectly to the hobby. Now, it's been a couple weeks since I've been on here. Mostly my fault. No, solely my fault because I always miss the deadline because I think it's the wrong day. But enough preamble. Today we're talking about a couple different things. One, we've been going over modeling software, and I want to show you some resin printing things. Now, we did the thing with the Wolverine where I showed you how to kind of angle them at 45 degrees, but I want to show you why I love resin printing. Now, I have plenty of great filament 3D printers, but the thing that I like about resin printing more than filament is the detail. You can get so much cleaner detail out of resin printing than you can out of filament printing. Now, some people would argue, well, yeah, but if you set your settings right, true, but if you have a high resolution resin printer, which the price of those has come down significantly over the years, you can do some amazing things. Case in point, this Roman Centurion that I'm showing you. See, the level of detail here is perfect. I mean, just the fact that it looks like a statue and that it's such smooth lines, you don't have to sand it. When I print props that I have on all over the place, we've got, Thor helmets and WandaVision, the crest from the Halloween episode, all that sort of stuff. The problem I have with printing in FDM is you get what's called layer lines. Those layer lines are those basically evidence of how the product was made. The fact that it runs around that spool of filament and spits out filament almost like a hot glue gun, essentially just on a micro level. And you can see in between the layers. Now, some people don't mind that, especially when I'm doing inserts and things like that. I don't care. If it's got layer lines, it doesn't bother me. But if I'm doing a prop that I want to be finished and have a nice metallic sheen to it, I need to get rid of those layer lines. Well, the problem is I don't have a resin printer big enough to print a full helmet. Now, I can do it in halves and try to glue it together, but then you get some issues there. what you have to do is seal that, and then you sand it. And so there's a lot of processing. So what I love about resin printing, if you can do it on a size level that you are happy with, you don't have to do any of that. It's so precise, it's so detailed that it comes out looking as good as injection printing. Like, we're into a point now where you can buy a resin printer, the Elegoo Mars 3 or the Elegoo Saturn 2. Any of those can print with such high fidelity and detail that you're going to get a product that you are happy to show off. People will not know where you were able to find such a product because of the clarity and detail. Now, you could get free prints off Thingiverse, or you can go to Kickstarters and places to buy these prints. Like, there are tons of places to get some amazing detailed files. People sell these files. Anything you want to print, you can print. So I'm a big advocate of resin printing. It's messy, it's gooey, and yeah, you have to use 90% isopropyl alcohol to kind of get rid of some of the extra resin. You got to cure it with UV. It is a lot of extra work, but at the end of the day, I prefer it because of the detail work. If I had a 3D resin printer big enough to do a full Thor helmet, I would just print on that, and I would just get rid of my filament printers almost entirely, except there's some trickiness with resin printing. But because of the ease of sanding and finishing the prop, the ease of how well they take paint, the ease of how well they're sturdy enough if you know what you're doing, and we'll go through that in a few episodes. I'm a big advocate for the resin 3D printing. So if you have a filament 3D printer and you've been looking into getting a resin printer, may I suggest starting small, see if you like it, because there are so many now that you can get that are small, that don't cost that much. And if you're making pieces for games and things like that, small pieces, you can do 6 at a time, 5 at a time, whatever you want to do, and you can get what you want out of it. So long kind of just talk about how much I love resin printing and how I do prefer it to FDM printing, while FDM printing is still the king of size for the price. So if you have any questions about 3D printing at all, about plating, about sizing, about scaling, about supporting, all that sort of stuff, let me know in the comments below, or shoot me a message, whatever you want to do. I love talking 3D printing. It's my favorite geek culture hobby there is besides gaming. I just love it so much. The whole idea of you can make anything. It's like something we only dreamed of as kids. Remember the episode of the Muppet Babies where they had the magic marker where they could just draw in the air and it would become real? That's kind of what we have now. We have 3D printing where you can just make your toys, make your ideas, make your thoughts reality. So that's it for From Plate to Table. I'm Brian Drake here on Board Game Smorgasbord. Hey, have some of the blue and don't get cheap on me.
All right, today's top 10 or top 3
Calm
is
down. Just 3, okay?
I could have done 10.
I'm not even.
We could have classic novel.
I haven't even read 10 novels. I was waiting for you to say it before.
Fiction novels.
That's what
You didn't
novel
say that.
means,
Now,
man.
I luckily mine are fiction, but you didn't say fiction, because you could have put like In Cold Blood, or there's nonfiction classics out there.
Name another one.
In Cold Blood.
I know, well.
So anyway, that's what we mean.
What
when
else
we're
did
talking about
Capote write?
You could have done like maybe autobiographies or something.
Sure,
like that.
and maybe we'll do that in the future.
Yeah, Capote did
Have fun with that one.
Yeah, right.
Nope. This person was boring.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, classics. How we determine classics? We just picked them.
We did.
So,
yeah.
I think I'm the least well-read of the 3 of us. I'm just waiting to hear what you guys pick. Mine are sort of fairly by the numbers things. I'm really banking on nostalgia here. So
I chose mine based on the ones that made an impact on me, because I've read a lot of these and I was like, okay, I guess I understand why they're classics, but it didn't. I did it because it was an assignment. You know what I mean?
read every classic I get my hands on as a kid.
Yeah.
Everything. I read tons of stuff. So, but I picked the 3 that affected me the most.
That's it. Yeah, these aren't even necessarily, I think,
All right.
always the best written or whatever. They made an impact on me.
All right, you're first.
Okay, my number 3 is, again, this one's nostalgic to me because it's a writer that my dad really likes, and he would talk about it a lot. So I read it when I was pretty young, and that's Call of the Wild. Jack London's Call of the Wild. So he really likes.
So I find that book, that's like a tough read. There's so much
is.
like negative. I mean, it's a positive book, and lots of good things happen to the dog.
Yeah.
But lots of bad things happen.
Jack London did that a lot in writing, from the animal's point of view. My dad is very much a country person, and he loved Jack London stuff. He loved that writer. and all those different, again, from the point of view of a dog, of a whatever, and then so I grew up hearing about Jack London and his writing, so that one specifically to me reminds me of that. Again, every time I talk about my dad, I make him sound like he's dead. He's not dead. It just reminds me of the love my dad still has, because he's alive, for Jack London.
Have you guys watched that new movie, The Call of the Wild?
No, it looks crappy.
It looks like it's not based on the book hardly at all.
There's that too. I think it's based on Harrison Ford's life, actually.
I believe so, yes.
If I'm not mistaken. So yeah, The Call of the Wild, Jack London. Again, I feel nostalgic about it, and it reminds me of a lot of other things. So that's my number 3.
All right, my number 3 is my least known of all the books, although most people know the character that this book introduced. And so the book is King Solomon's Mines. The character is Alan
It's a
Quartermain.
singular mine, isn't it?
I don't know.
When was this book written?
Over 100 years ago.
Really? I didn't even realize it was that old of a book. Okay.
Yeah, so
King Solomon's Mine.
So the book was written because this guy, I forget the name of the author, I apologize, his brother bet him 5 shillings that he couldn't write something more interesting than Treasure Island. And the guy's like, watch me. And so he wrote this book. And so what this book did, and I went and read about the background of this in preparation for this, and even though I forgot the author, it's a really cool, it kind of is one of the forefronts of pulp fiction, or they call it Lost World.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened here. Alan Quartermain and Captain Good and someone else, they all went over the mountain and they almost died. Then they come in and they find this huge kingdom that's about to have civil war and they're involved, and they find diamonds and stuff. And it's really cool and exciting and long. I don't know, it was so action-packed.
Yeah.
That idea of going somewhere still on Earth and finding this unknown thing and then walking out with your pockets full of diamonds, was such a neat concept to me. I really like this book. I mean, there's parts of it that haven't aged particularly well. Sure. I mean, there's things, but man, it was just so exciting. So that's King Solomon's Mines. And Alan Quartermain surpassed that. They did a sequel to the King Solomon's Mines in which Alan Quartermain died, but he was so popular, they went back and wrote 15 prequels.
Wasn't there that movie, The Lost City of Gold, Alan Quartermain, Lost City of Gold, or something like that?
That was the second one, I think. I don't remember. But then he showed up in that stupid, terrible movie.
He's in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, uses Alan Quartermain.
Right, Sean Connery.
And many other, characters from literature.
I think more people probably know Alan Quartermain from the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, graphic novels and stuff, than from this book.
Yeah.
But I just really, really liked it. Oh, Sir H. Rider Haggard. Thank you.
So it is plural. It's mines. King Solomon's Mines. Okay. My mistake.
My number 3 is a feel-good book called The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. It's not a feel-good book. This is a book.
Isn't that the one the jungle stands for urban jungle, right?
Yeah, so this is basically a story of an immigrant family that comes to America, Chicago, and this family starts working in the meat packing industry.
Okay.
And it's very melodramatic. It's almost soap opera-esque in how many terrible things happens to this poor family. So
why do you like it?
Because I felt that it was very affecting. Even though it's a much older book, it's still. I guess I kind of relate to this. My family didn't have anywhere near the experience of this family, but my dad moving here from a European country when he was 18 and seeing how his level of opportunity was already so much greater than it was when this book was written. And so just kind of having that little bit of a tie of, America being a country of immigrants and how the experience was so different depending upon, where you came from, where you moved to, any number of things, and how kind of the system was, stacked against you and how you could still persevere through all of this hardship. And it really was more of a how do you still kind of hold things together. So I don't know. It was just an affecting book. I read it a little bit later in life. I read it in college. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's my number 3, but still.
I don't think I'm going to read it.
I don't know that I would unless you are interested in that subject matter.
I like books that have somewhat uplifting endings.
Yeah, it's rough.
Spoiler alert for my other 2 books. Have uplifting endings.
Okay. My number 2 is very much like The Jungle. It's very similar. It's about hardship and how you overcome.
Grapes of Wrath?
No, it's The Hobbit.
There we go.
It's about overcoming.
Because everyone in chat's like, Lord of the Rings.
It's about overcoming jewelry, evil jewelry.
Yes.
Sometimes You know, you're given, and this speaks to our ancestors, you're given jewelry and you think, oh, this is lovely, but what is the background of this, say, ring? Sometimes that ring turns out to be
Oh, my word.
evil. The One Ring.
Thanks,
sometimes.
Dr. Garcia.
The Hobbit is just so punchy, especially compared to the Lord of the Rings that came out afterwards.
I like it way better than Lord
I
of the Rings.
agree.
The book.
I'm
the book.
sorry. I think The Hobbit is written from a different point of view. It's like, I feel like when J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which he wrote as a book, they just split it up because they couldn't possibly publish it. He had, it sounds mean, he had bought into his own fame a little bit.
Well, he wrote The Hobbit as a test case of sorts.
Right.
Sure, but The Hobbit is so punchy. It's so fast. It moves along. It's a short book. It's shorter than any one of the other three, right?
Yeah.
And I just really like it a lot more. I think it's a lot more fantastical. It doesn't bog down.
I think it's more approachable,
in
isn't it?
world building
Yeah.
and be like, okay, hold on, I need to make up an entire universe. It's just like, here's some characters. They're going along on an adventure.
That's true.
They found a thing. Oh no! Watch out! Ging, 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 ging. I like that a lot more.
Yeah.
And so I find The Hobbit to be a lot more approachable, a lot more fun.
I also think the Battle of Five Armies is so spectacular of an
Yeah.
ending, which is why that movie ticks me off, because that battle was not...
I haven't seen the movie yet.
I did not live
Not
up to
the
my
third one.
expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Hobbit I think is a really, really fun book to read, and it's a very rereadable one too.
I did not want to make my entire list Jules Verne, because he's one of my favorite authors, and he's
Yeah.
written so many great classics. I had a hard time picking, but I'm picking Around the World in 80 Days, which is, interesting enough, the least technological. I like, the Mysterious Island, I like a lot too.
Yeah, my number 5, because I went up to 5, is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I like that one too. I like his stuff. I think it's interesting and fascinating, especially he was so good at predicting the future. It's uncanny.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it is.
But Around the World in 80 Days is just a rollicking journey. I think his characters are so interesting. Phineas Fogg and Passport, they're really interesting characters. They're so different. It's almost like a precursor to Inspector Gadget with Phineas Fogg doing it, and Passport's like saving him in the background. It's not as blatant as the Jackie Chan bad movie was.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if there's a movie about Around the World in the 80s that I love. They're okay. But I like the book because it just shows you around the world. It's interesting. And that's a sucker punch if you've never read it. The whole
Right.
time zone thing, you're like, wow, that's a cool ending.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun Around the World in 80 Days. With a happy ending. Bring us down, Mike.
Oh, here we go. No, I don't know how you would. It's a very difficult
Here we
period
go.
in history, but I don't know that the book is. Anyway, my number 2, I think, is more famous for its opening line than it is for anything else.
Moby Dick.
Tale of Two Cities.
Tale of Two Cities. Charles Dickens is my number 2. This is another book that I read later in life in college. It was not something that I had to read in high school, and I certainly wasn't going to choose to read it in high school. But I was very surprised at how readable it was, right? Like, I didn't really have a lot of background on Dickens other than the movies and all the stuff that's been made about his works. I'd never read a Dickens novel. And it was a very entertaining read. Now, it's not a rollicking romp. It's about, the French Revolution, but it was really good in that it told human stories, right? Sometimes you read these classics, and to me, I feel disconnected from the characters. That was not the case in Dickens. Like, I connected with the characters he wrote. I felt like it was taking a very complex and layered historical period in time, a war, and telling it through characters I cared about. And so I think it was that I went into it with very low expectations of, am I even going to be able to make it through this? And at the end being like really understanding why. Dickens was a popular author in his time. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that he was like, I don't want to reduce it to like Stephen King, but he was a popular author.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand why now, because it's very readable and again, human stories of characters I cared about. So, Tale of Two Cities.
All right.
Okay. All right, so my number 1 is, I feel like it's the first time I read a book in
Cat
English. No. First time I read a book in English where I thought to myself, I did it in school. So this was in like late middle school, I want to say, maybe the last year in middle school. And I knew English for about 2 years at that point. And I'd read like Goosebumps, and I'd read like that kind of stuff that you read. You know what I mean? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Don't spoil my number one.
Yeah, right. So this was the first time I read a book in school. It happened to be, and I was like, okay, this is good writing. It's still very legible. Legible is weird. Readable. It's very approachable. It's clearly for kids, but it's good writing.
Yeah.
And that's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Oh, okay.
I
C.S.
really
Lewis.
considered. I was just gonna say Chronicles of Narnia, but
I've only read a couple. I've read that, and I've read maybe Caspian, maybe For the Horse and His Boy. Is that one of them?
Horse and His Boy is a weird one because that one's like separate from the rest.
Yeah,
almost.
I've read I think 2 or 3, but anyway, in my mind, the one that stands out is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And again, it's very readable. It's easy to. It's not flowery. It's to the point. It's straightforward, but it's good writing. And I remember thinking that to myself. Okay, I see the difference now. You know, both are for kids. Goosebumps and this, but this is well done. This feels classic. This
Yeah.
has that air of this is a classic and there's a reason.
Sure.
I really remember reading that book. Well, I read it when I was in like 4th grade or something, and just reading as soon as I went through the closet, I was like, "Oh my word!" It was such a weird thing to read because that opened up like, well, I mean, not to be punny, but it was like a whole new world.
Yeah,
Like, wow,
absolutely.
they're climbing through this thing.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Although I just saw a meme yesterday that said something like most adults get angry at C.S. Lewis when they finally ever do eat Turkish Delight.
I like Turkish Delight.
I know, it is funny. I remember distinctly reading that, yeah. It's funny.
Well,
Some
yeah,
of the things that stand out
I
in
eat
that
Turkish
book.
Delight. I was like, he betrayed his brothers for this?
Maybe not
Like,
that
what is
much,
wrong with
He
you?
didn't like him that much.
All right.
Turkish Delight is better in Narnia, is what it is.
That's right.
My number one is a author crossover with what Mike just said, and that's Charles Dickens.
Oh, interesting.
And this is by far my favorite book, and that's David Copperfield.
Okay.
I like Charles Dickens across the board, but as a kid, I read David Copperfield like 10 times. For some reason, I identified with him.
Sure.
It was this whole, my parents didn't, my dad wasn't beating me as a child.
Sure.
But I like the story because it's such a roller coaster. His parents are terrible, but then he goes and lives with some great people. But then he has to go to an evil boarding school. But then he gets out of that boarding school, and then at the end, there's that confrontation with Uriah Heep, which is just a bunch of people basically standing around a table yelling at him. There's almost no action scenes in this whole series, and yet the characters all come to life. You feel for the characters.
Yeah.
There's a character that one of the characters betrays David Copperfield at one point. That you really like that character the whole time. Although when you go back and reread it, especially as an adult, you're like, yeah, that character's a jerk. But David Copperfield doesn't know that.
Right.
And, oh, man. And then when his first wife dies, I'm spoiling everything in this book. Like, But it ends on such a high note.
Yeah.
And this is another one where I haven't seen a movie that I think does as well, although I saw a cartoon series on Nickelodeon when I was a kid that I thought did a decent job of it. There's been some good adaptations of it,
Sure.
I guess. The BBC has done it several times.
Okay.
Maybe I should go back and watch some of those. Maybe those are good. But I love this story so much. It has such a grandiose ending, but I feel the emotions of the characters the whole way through. Dickens is really good at bringing a background character to life.
That's very true.
Right.
You know, I don't know if you ever read the Pickridge Papers.
I have not.
That's basically just a bunch of background characters. I don't remember what the story's about, but all these different people, and he'll describe them in detail, and they always have weird ticks and flaws.
Sure.
Even, I don't like Great Expectations because that one does not end very well, but I like the characters he builds.
Okay. My number one is a book that I did read younger, and it is a very small book that left a massive impact on me. It's the first book that made me like weep.
Okay, hold on. It's a small book?
Small book, and it's a very simple story of, just
Hemingway?
No, it's Steinbeck.
Not Grape. Is Steinbeck Grapes of Wrath?
He did write Grapes of Wrath. That's a larger book. That's about the Great
Of
Depression.
Mice and Men?
Of Mice and Men, yeah. This book wrecked me as a kid. I was just like, I didn't know books could do that. I did not know that they can bring up those types of emotions. You know what I mean? You know, with the visual, with movies, you know, even with TV, you know, you can. It's. I don't know. I feel like it's easier to elicit emotion in a visual medium or even an auditory medium. But reading that book, I was just like, you know, it was assigned to me at school. I was excited because it was short, and I don't even hate reading. Like I loved reading, but I didn't like being assigned reading. Yes. Anyway, I got this book. And we were supposed to read the first chapter, I think. You know, I just blitzed through the whole book. It's like 140 pages, I don't know. And I was just wrecked. And I loved it. But it was heartbreaking, but in some ways it was also not. I don't know how to put it. Like, it didn't feel manipulative, or, you know, sometimes there's manipulation with. Yeah. It just was like a very human story of two, you know, unbelievable characters. And yeah, no, it still is affecting to me.
Yeah, some of the simpler stories, I think, tend to be some of the more powerful ones. And I think Of Mice and Men falls in that category,
Yeah.
All right, folks, those are our top 3 classic books. Tell us yours in the comments. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joey.
And I'm Alex.
And we are back with another segment of Shelf Storage or Sell.
We are. Hey, you did it today.
I did it.
Yay.
It's a segment. I remember.
Good job. Good job.
Was that a round of applause?
It was. I did it for everybody.
Anyway,
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, so the game we're talking about today is a game we've had for a while, and we bought, it was an impulse buy only because we liked the name.
Yes.
And it is from the Monty Python quote, "Bring out your dead."
Ta-da! Here it is. Here it is.
Bring out your dead. Upper Deck was one of their first ones that wasn't like an IP. It was just kind of an all on its own type of thing?
Standalone.
Standalone. So the big thing about Bring Out Your Dead is you are playing after the plague, and you kind of are trying to place funeral plots for your family.
Yep, you're burying your family members.
Yes, and you're putting you're putting little coffins on a little coffin cart, and you want the prime spots on each side of the river.
Of course you do, right?
And if you don't get the coffin in the right spot, the gravedigger's not a great guy. He throws the coffin into the river. Down by the river.
Down by the river.
So, anyway.
That's a song, right?
Yeah, we went totally different places.
I'm sorry, okay.
I went Chris Farley, Down by the River, and you went...
A song?
I have no idea what song. Anyway, so...
I feel like that's a song.
Probably.
I don't know.
Everything's a song. So, this is a fun game. It's not as morbid as it sounds.
No, true.
No, it's very tongue-in-cheek with the whole Bring Out Your Dead thing. So we were trying to figure out, is this going to stay in our collection or not? Because it is, what year is this?
It's 2015.
2015, so it is...
Ancient in board games.
It is ancient in board games. So, all right, this right here, it's a fun, simpler game with the right people. Did you like this game? We played it again recently.
I did. I did enjoy playing it again. It was fun to bring it out, and everyone I felt like had a good time playing it. Right. Everyone enjoyed playing. Like, it was fun. It was very, like, I haven't played it in a very long time, and I'm glad we did bring it out to see what we thought of it.
Exactly. And the thing is, the treasure cards give a good sense of set collection.
Yes.
And also you can use them for immediate points too, which is really big.
Yeah. So, I said I do like the, you know, your creating your deck too of cards that you want to do. I like that aspect of it, but then yet your priority is literally burying coffins, you know. So that's, you've got that trade-off of what do you want to do. So I did really enjoy that.
I did too, and the scoring mechanic is very fun at the end because you score with the different coffins, the different like areas, plots you're in. Yeah. But then also there's group scoring by the different areas too. If you who has the most population there, you've got the set collection at the end. There's a lot of things going on, but it's a very simple, light game. And it's fun to throw people's coffins in the river. It just is.
Yeah, that was my thing too. Like I said, we had a great time playing this game and everything. I just don't know when we're going to get this out again.
Yeah,
and that was my fear. After playing this, I was like, I don't know when I'm going to get this, because like I said, the title, Bring Out Your Dead, you feel like it's going to be this dark, morbid game.
Which it's not.
Which is not. It's very light and fun. And so I feel like if you want a light and fun game, this is probably not a game you're going to instantly grab, but then if you want a dark, morbid game, this also isn't a game you're going to grab.
Right, and this is, I think this is going to become popular lately because it's been on sale a lot of places.
Yes, I have noticed that. It's kind of everywhere.
So anyway, it's a great game with 5 people, which very few games hit that number.
True.
So, all right, so shelf storage or sell on this one?
I'm going to do storage.
Storage? Mm-hmm. I like this game a lot, and I would probably go, I'm leaning towards shelf.
Really?
Because playing it the other day, it is a fun game, it's funny, it's quirky, And I kind of like it. The artwork's nice. It's not as morbid as it sounds, so I would go shelf on this.
Really? That's very interesting.
Hopefully this will stay on our shelf.
Hopefully.
So again, this is Bring Out Your Dad by Upper Deck.
Ta-da!
If you haven't had a chance to check it out, check it out. Even if you don't like morbid games, this is a very tongue-in-cheek, fun style game.
It is very fun.
And you get to throw coffins in the river.
Hey.
And sing the song in the river.
Mm-hmm. And the coffin little thing that they have is amazing. I like the little pieces.
Yeah, components are great.
Components. There
All
we
right.
go.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, today I want to talk about, I've seen a lot of people online basically bemoaning the terrible state of games these days. In fact, someone did that in person to me at the game store on Tuesday. They were talking about how nothing really good came out in 2022. And so they were hoping a good game would come out in 2023. And that's fine. I mean, if you don't like modern games and stuff, although honestly, I'm not sure you should be in the hobby if you don't like any games that came out over the past year. But I'm seeing a lot online, especially with people who've been in the hobby for a while. That's what happens to you. You're in the hobby for 10, 20 years, and you start talking about this. They don't make them like they used to. Games used to be whatever. And they'll point to some classics over the year. They'll point to El Grande. They'll point to Bonanza. They'll point to Catan and different things and say, look at these amazing games. They don't make games like that now. But what they don't do when they point this out is to the other 100, 200 games that came out in those years that were crap. Yeah, there's classic games that stand the course of time. And for someone in the hobby, I'll sit there, and we're going to actually talk about this later today because we're going back 10 years, which doesn't even feel that old.
I agree.
It really doesn't, yeah. Some of these games I was shocked. I was like, oh, it's only 10 years.
But I would posit this. When you say games back in the day are so much better than now, you are demeaning everyone else in a snooty, condescending attitude. You're basically saying, what I liked, and this happens with music, right? Everyone says, the music you like best is the music that was what is in your teens, is it?
Yes.
Right. And then all music today is crap.
Right.
So games that doesn't happen for teens, for most people, it's the games they played getting them into the hobby.
To me, that's the big thing. Is I think it's such a myopic point of view. It's like they're talking about the games, but they're really not. What they seem to fail to understand is that what they're really talking about is the effect those games had on them.
Yes.
See what I'm saying? Of course, when you're first discovering modern board games, those games are going to have a larger impact on you. You didn't know games could do this.
Right.
You know, now maybe you're a little bit more jaded. You've played 40 different games that have set collection. You've played 25 worker placement games. You maybe get to this idea of, okay, these games aren't giving me that rush that they used to have. That's not the game's fault.
Right, that's you.
That's that maybe you have changed.
The games have stayed the same.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, games are getting better.
I think
there are new mechanisms that are discovered. Not every game's going to be groundbreaking. In fact, almost none are. Almost no game is groundbreaking to the point where when one is, it makes the gaming world kind of stop in its tracks.
Right.
But to say, well, this game's derivative of this and this, yes, just as a heads up, the game it's a derivative of is also likely a derivative of something else.
Correct.
And if these classics, so we just talked about classic books, teachers still assign those books to be read. Most of those books hold up, although, well, like when you mentioned Charles Dickens was very popular. In Charles Dickens' day, there were many authors who wrote trash. No one remembers any of that stuff.
Of course.
And
that's the thing, right? We mentioned classic books, and there are a couple hundred, you know? And that's literature, which is going back quite a bit, further than modern board games. When we're talking about board games here, yeah, you can pick maybe 1 or 2 a year.
Right.
Right.
And then the rest are largely forgotten.
Right.
But that doesn't make them bad while you're playing them.
No.
Right. There's an embarrassment of riches today.
There are.
With how most games are, at the very least, well put together, well researched, well finalized. Most of them really are.
Also, I think that the designers that are putting out games now have a larger body of work that they can draw from, right?
That they can reference.
That they can reference, right? Because most, I think, well, maybe this is maybe too I have nothing to back this up. My guess is that designers that are the best designers are ones that play a lot of games. I would assume so. I would assume that's an assumption, but they've got so much more to draw from now than designers 30 years ago. I mean, Sid Saxon, what did he have to draw from? Right, his games in many ways still feel fresh today, and that's why he's so revered, rightfully so. To me, a better, if you're going to make a shouting at a clouds type of an argument, you could say that maybe some trends that you're seeing you don't like. So I can say, all right, I feel like we're getting too many roll and writes. All right, sure, you can make that argument. I can agree or disagree with you. You could say, I feel like games are not getting more, the more complex games are more complex because you're throwing 15 different mechanisms rather than having a short rule set and a wide decision space. All right, that's a compelling argument. I think it's lazy to say games suck now.
I agree. And also, like someone in the comments said, the boom is starting to water down the quality of games. No, the quality of games is already terrible. I want to transport you back to the 70s and go to your stores and buy games.
Right.
And here's another thing, too. So there's a movie, I like this movie a lot, Yesterday, where some kid, so some freak accident takes Beatles song. The Beatles never existed.
Right.
But this kid knows all the Beatles songs, so he starts playing them and singing them, and he becomes a huge megastar. It's a fun movie. I like it a lot. And I love Beatles music. But I wondered, would that actually happen? If you had never heard the song Yesterday and someone came and sang it, due to a bunch of circumstances, it might not become a huge hit. It just might not.
Especially in 2023, or you know what I mean?
And it's the same way, too. Everyone says, these games are classic. So companies reprint these classic games. And 99.9% of the time, they never take off.
Sure.
I'll be like, hey, play this classic El Grande. Play this classic Trump Fabric. Play this game. People are like, it's pretty good. Just like every other game that's come out this year. And so this idea of, I know people want to say it because if you say games are kind of crap these days, you're giving yourself a reason not to buy them.
Sure.
That's one, I was like, and I'll go back and watch this stuff. But I'm telling you, games that come out now are amazing.
Yeah.
They really are. And to put down, and that's what this is all the time, it's putting down people who like these games. You're sitting there going, everyone just wants to play stuff that came out this year. No kidding. I also want to see the movies that came out this year.
I think, unfortunately, also an extension of that, putting down the games that came out this year, you are, even if you don't mean to, by extension, putting down people who are getting into gaming this year.
Correct, yeah.
And that's unfortunate, because when you were starting out, there were probably people who thought the game you were learning gaming on was crap. They just maybe didn't tell you that.
Yeah.
And you got into those games. Those are now your classics. You revere them. People who are getting into gaming now don't play X game and go, this just iterates on these other 12 games that I know about. This is new. It's fresh to them. It works. Everything in it sings and works together. So the games, you are seeing those iterations, and again, it's wearing you down, like you were saying, where you find this new, delivery, this new thing to be less than what you want it to be. Because not everything can be brand new every time. It's just impossible. But new people getting into the hobby, my goodness, you are at again, embarrassment of riches.
It's true.
As
Golden
to where
age.
what you can hitch your wagon to, what kind of thing you want to try out. There's so much. Heavy games, light games, this kind, that kind. They look like this or like that. How many people I want to play with? My goodness. And even just a solo thing these days, where you can literally be a board gamer through and through and not play with anybody else. That is mind-blowing and fantastic.
Yeah.
And look, I know there's bloating games. We live in cult of the new.
Yes.
There's all kinds of stuff. And I also get, if you're a gamer, for a lot of people, there's going to come a point where you go, I'm kind of good. I don't need to keep playing the new stuff. I can play the stuff I have. I applaud you for that.
Sure.
Yes.
But if you're a game critic, or you're going to go out there and then trying to water on everyone else too, I'm not a huge fan of black and white classic movies. I like some.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
But I know some people love them. But those people hopefully aren't going to come and tell me I can't go watch new movies. That happens too. The same thing happens in the movie industry. Everything is Marvel these days.
Right.
As I say, going to see Ant-Man tonight. But I don't know. I think the hobby is fantastic. Yes, we talked earlier in this episode, Grail Games going out of business. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But the whole thing isn't falling apart.
No.
Look at all the rest of the news. We announced tons of new games. We're playing new games all the time. It's a great time to be a gamer.
It is.
Well, that's it for Board Game Smorgasbord. We'll be back at 2 to go back 10 years ago. Was 2013 a great year or not? Or was it full of trash? Find out in 3 hours and 50 minutes. We'll see you then. Until then, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Z Garcia.
And I can do math.